Welcome back to the Strength and Speed Podcast. I'm your host, Strength and Speed owner, Conquer the Gauntlet Pro, Evan Preparis. I got two other Conquer the Gauntlet pros with me on the line. Joining me as my co-host, I have dominant CTG Masters athlete, Doug Snyder. Doug, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Evan.
And Doug also recently finished Battle OCR, an OCRWC qualifier run by Sydney Paul Morris. He double podium there, so got a podium in the elite, right? Third in elite and second in Warzone, the multi-lap. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll talk about
Big
that.
Weekend.
Yeah, that's huge. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Joining me also, I have one of the newest members of the Conquer the Gauntlet Pro team. I have Scott Wierzycki. You may remember him from, he came in first in his age group in 2017 at the U.S. OCR Championships 15K. He actually got the first triple podium in Conquer the Gauntlet history. So he got second overall in elite, first Masters, and third in Continuum, and that was at CTG Little Rock, the final race of CTG in 2019. He's also the first person to win an overall elite in Wichita in 2017, Masters was twice this year, I believe, and Continuum in Dallas in 2019. So first person to win first at CTG in all those. Finally, has about 31 OCR podiums and 12 trail or road race podiums. They've been competing since 2012. So, Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, me and Scott have known each other for a long time. You're like one of the first people I met in OCR back in 2015. I think you were running around in was it a Fugitive Run shirt or a Battleground shirt at that point?
Yeah, at that point, I was, back in the Fugitive Run days. That's where I was my first team there.
Nice. And then you switched to Battlegrounds for a couple years. I've kind of been representing Neptune / Alpha Racing the last couple. And in addition now, CTG Pro Team.
Right. Exactly.
Right on. So we got a lot to talk about this episode. We're going to be covering a little bit of Battle OCR, like I said before. We're going to be talking about the CTG Pro Team Takeover, which we, as of recording this, was a couple days ago. So some awesome stuff going on at Motus Ninjas in Kansas City, and then ROKC in Olathe, which is where another Conquer the Gauntlet Pro, Jenny Overstreet, works as a fitness director. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk a little bit about Scott's background, how he got into OCR, and kind of where he's going in the future. And I know he's headed to the Abominable Snow Race this weekend, and so am I. So we'll be seeing him there, and any of you listening will be seeing you there too. Let's start off with Scott. Just tell me how you got into OCR in the first place.
Okay, so that was, I guess, back in 2012 when I was just kind of looking for something to do to get myself in shape. Started just running some local 5Ks. That's kind of where it started out. And then, like most, I kind of found this race called the Warrior Dash. So ended up going to that and thought, well, this is pretty fun. I got to find some more stuff like this. And then after Warrior Dash, actually, that was when I found a Battlegrounds race. So basically my second OCR, and the first time I really raced competitively at one of these and did pretty well. Went off from there and started looking for more races to do like that.
You've been racing since 2012, and that's almost essentially the beginning of the sport, or arguably the beginning of the sport. You know, what's kept you interested in coming back for all these years?
I just really have loved the competition and the progression that I've been just getting, been doing fairly well and getting better, and just keep reaching goals, trying to get and have speed goals for my running and my completion goals for certain races or whatever. But there's always the next goal to look for.
What are your goals for, 2020? We got the season coming up, got it kicking off soon.
Still trying to figure out some of those, but I mean, I'm doing a lot of CTG races, so definitely want to try to get some podiums there. Be doing OCR Worlds in Vermont. Want to see how well I can do there. That'll be one of my A races there. Still trying to figure out some of my other ones yet, but we'll see.
Right on. Sounds good. And you've managed to do pretty well, kind of both in the short distance, and then also you kind of straddle the world of endurance. So not quite, 24 hours, or it's kind of on the, the far end of your, kind of the outer edge of your spectrum, but like seem to be doing well in like everything from 5K to about, 6 to 7 hours. So what's kind of your part of your successes?
Just try to train for everything. I mean, I definitely specialize more in the short stuff. It's like I've tried. I enjoy the longer, like 24-hour races and whatnot, but it's definitely not my strength. I'm not sure if I so much like the recovery periods for those. So, but yeah, I like the 5 to 15 mile range. I can go do a race and just I'll be good to go and do another race. So yeah, as opposed to these 24-hour races that might keep me out for a good month or two before I'm really ready to start pushing again.
Yeah, the 24-hour recovery period is just, it's brutal. Especially like stuff like World's Toughest, where your mileage gets really high, and then you have to really take some time off after. So I know Doug recently competed in Battle OCR this past weekend. Doug, why don't you give us a quick rundown of how that went?
So it was close to 3 miles long, absolute tabletop flat ground. It was in a large park area. A lot of it was kind of a mowed grass. They used geographic features where they could, but most of it, you could see different switchbacks across a long field. There was a section of mud along an area of woods, so nobody came out completely clean, but it definitely wasn't crawling through mud or anything like that. And it was a cold morning for here in the South. It was like in the 40s, and people were starting off really cold. About a mile into it, there was a short pond crossing that had 2 dunk walls. So you hit the pond, go under one, go about another 6 or 8 feet, and have to go under the other. And you came out of the water straight up a slip wall that was, I think it was like 16 feet long. So it was tough on calves and legs because of that cold water and the cold air. Things didn't really warm up till late in the morning. But it wasn't bad after the first lap, getting totally warmed up. The obstacles in Battle Race are just the absolute cutting edge creative obstacles. It's almost like ninja style course. A lot of upper body stuff. You might remember Valkyrie, the obstacle that debuted at NORAM last year, which was 45-degree angle up on Olympic rings and then back down. That was out there, and a couple others that were kind of spun off of that. Arms pumped out pretty bad here and there. Partway through the endurance part of that, it was definitely necessary to use the penalty to let arms recover.
What was the penalty for?
They had logs. You had to carry a log on about maybe a 200-yard circuit. I guess it was kind of like a wooden fence post that was about 8 feet long and 6 inches in diameter. So probably about 80 pounds.
Yeah, I saw a video of you crushing that, and Jason Williams' girlfriend,
Yes.
Brittany, not crushing it.
I know.
They were super long. She was having trouble picking it up, and it
it
looked
was
like
awkward.
she was doing like end over end, like flipping it before the video got off.
Yeah, I saw quite a few girls that were just kind of flipping it end over end, which meant 8 feet at a time. But that was probably my second lap, and I was still really hauling butt there. So I just grabbed it and ran.
So the big talk I saw online was they debuted an obstacle that's supposed to be at OCR World Championships this year.
Yes.
It's like Stairway Remix or Stairway 2.0, whatever you want to call it. But it's
Yes.
basically Valkyrie, but instead of rings, it's the T-bars from like the Force 5 kind of rig that we saw at NORAM,
Yeah.
underneath the awning. And, you know, my initial impression looking at it, like initially it's like, oh, that looks harder. And then you start thinking about it and it looks like you could just move sideways up it and using like opposing grip and having actual more secure hold than Stairway. So what was your thoughts on if it's
Right.
more or less difficult than Stairway? And yeah.
Right. I actually put together a little video that'll go into a Technique Tuesday with Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team on ways to do it. So first off, the angle and stuff is the same as Valkyrie, and the spacing's pretty similar to Valkyrie. However, you don't have that nice, comfortable grip of wrapping your hand around an Olympic ring. Each of the T's on those T-bars that hang down, which do swing one way, you know, it's like a hinge. It's about a 2-inch by 4-inch steel tube. So your hands are flat on top of it. Unless you're kind of chicken winging, there's no way to wrap your hand around those. I found out real quick, you do, like you said, want to turn kind of sideways and put your hand past it, you know, and grab back towards yourself so that you can close your other hand against the same one and match hands on each one, because they're pretty smooth. They're not textured like with a powder coat. It's just like a spray paint on smooth metal. The only break you get is at the top where you make the transition to come back down. That's a 2-inch by 2-inch tube. So you do get your hand around it and feel a little bit more secure, but you have to, for me, it was kind of this weird mental thing to reverse the moves coming down, because I found myself like off balance, like one hand wanted to go to one side of the T and the other hand coming to the other side. And then I was in the wrong position for the next one. And I found I just needed to take my time and make sure I put my hands where they needed to go, even though it felt awkward. If you can get both hands on each one and pull up to kind of do a chin up against it, so you basically are locked off to reach the next one, it's definitely doable. It gave a lot of people a lot of trouble, though.
Yeah, you mentioned something key, matching hands on holds, which is something I actually do on pretty much every obstacle that involves hanging from your hands. I know Scott and Doug are both pretty good at obstacles. What's your, do you guys one-arm things, or do you guys match hands usually? What's your technique for getting across? I'm not saying this specific obstacle, but kind of like any upper body obstacle. So Scott, give me your opinion first.
No, for me, usually if it's something that I can one-handed, I usually will. But if it's something I'm not quite 100% sure of, then yeah, I'll just do the matching hands. Just play it safe. But just, yeah, it kind of depends on if the obstacle's wet or how difficult it is.
Do you one-hand cliffhanger, the monkey bars that spin from CTG?
Just on the way, I kind of don't know what I'm gonna do until I get there a lot of the times. But I think a lot of the times there, I'll go like sideways and match, and then on the way down, I might just do one arm it if it's completely dry, and if I can see actually which ones are spinning.
You can look at the edges of the bars and you can see the weld marks if they're a spinner or not a spinner, right? So,
right.
Secret tip there. So I match hands and go sideways the whole time and skip. So I take like big reaches. So I like skip every other bar pretty much. Or if I can tell it's a spinner, sometimes I'll skip it kind of make a judgment call on the movement. What about you, Doug? You've had some real good success and flown through some of the CTG's harder rigs this year.
Yeah, I've seen the worst of the rigs, I think. On their monkey bars, I'm fine doing one-handed moves if they're dry, and I intentionally skip the spinners. If I grab something that spins, I'll put both hands on just to play it safe, because the extra 5 seconds of matching hands is well worth the minute of falling in the water, crawling back out, and starting over again.
Yeah, exactly.
So on rigs that have like hanging Olympic rings and stuff, I love to go one-armed and just try to skip as far ahead as humanly possible. Again, as long as it's dry, it feels like a secure grip.
Doug's got some great videos on his Instagram of him doing some Spartan obstacles, making them look like, I mean, just child's play. You know, you do like 2 or 3 moves and you're across like the entire obstacle. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah. They're just had a blank spot. What's the one that's the corkscrew handles?
Twister.
Twister. Yeah. That was one that if the thing's rotated in the right way, I can jump out and grab the handle that's in the middle of the first section and pretty much make it to the middle, and then grab 1 or 2 more times on the next section and be out of there.
We'll find that video and repost it to the CTG Pro Team Instagram or Facebook page, whichever.
Yeah, definitely. I know it's on my Instagram.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I put a lot of stress on my elbows and shoulders. I guess it was kind of late 2018, maybe going in a little bit in 2019, and so this last fall, I made a real conscious effort to just back things down and just let my arms rest a little bit, because like my mind just pushes me to just keep doing stuff like that, and I'm like I know I can do it, but I know I need to take a little break. So I feel a lot better now, and obviously I'm dialed back in and things feel good again.
Nice. Very nice. Now, I know I was looking at some of the coverage of Battle OCR, again, from Jason Williams and Brittany there, and the top females appeared to be stuck at one obstacle, and they were, it was cold, I guess, like you said, so they were laying on the black asphalt to heat themselves up, which apparently Brittany stole from a turtle. I got the idea from a turtle, which is genius.
Right.
I love seeing people's ingenuity mid-race. But what obstacle were they stuck at, and kind of what was the issue there? What was giving them problems?
Yeah, that was them stuck at the Stairway 2.0.
Okay.
They had done a team race on Friday night. I don't know if you were aware of that.
It's not.
And I don't know how many teams there were, but the girls, several of those girls that were laying on the asphalt in that picture were on a 3-girl team who took 3rd overall on Friday night. And I think they had just they'd been a little beat up from Friday night, and then their grip was taxed with all the stuff that was added to the course after the team race, which was in for the elite heat on Saturday. Yeah, I mean, people were trying to dry their hands more. They were licking their hands to see if they needed to be a little damper. I mean, they were trying all kinds of little things there, trying to get just the right grip on that stairway.
Yeah.
But there was some chicken winging, and I saw some people starting to throw heel hooks up there, and I was like, oh Lord, somebody's gonna die.
Yeah, I mean, the heel hooks, I mean, I'm assuming it's against the rule, right?
Well,
Yeah,
it definitely, you were not supposed to use feet,
yeah.
but I think you were allowed to kind of rest. You could take a resting position before you moved forward. They were really monitoring it and trying to cut people a break without just flat out using feet.
Yeah, I mean, the bad part about feet is obviously, one, if it's a muddy course, you're screwing everyone behind you by stepping the obstacle. And
That's
then
right.
The real kind of problem is it puts you in a very unsafe position where your feet are now locked in, and when your hands give out, you fall head first or shoulder first, or it puts you in a very dangerous position, especially if there's not a large body of water underneath you to cushion your feet.
I heard that there was an open heat woman who was close to the top, and she hung by her knees to let her arms shake out for a minute.
Oh,
and
terrifying.
And the top of that thing's like probably 18 feet high.
That's terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I was waiting for you to tell me she fell and
No. They had a nice pile of hay at the bottom, which was plenty to cushion like basic falls onto your feet, and maybe take a hip or something, but head first, that's not going to help.
Yeah. Now, you crushed it like we just talked about, coming in third elite, second in Warzone, the multi-lap. Tell me about the finisher or the prize you got for getting on the podium.
Yeah. So they made these shields that had the battle race logo on them, and they're made out of 1/4-inch plate steel, and the logo was like cut out and then welded on there, so it was another layer of 1/4-inch steel. I came in off one of my Warzone laps to do the elite podium, and they stuck this thing in my hands, and like I about fell over because it was probably a 30-pound piece of metal. So you see some of the podium pictures, a lot of people laughing and looking stupid because everybody's like struggling to hold these after their grip's been so taxed and forearms are burned out. But it's a very cool award. I just need to make sure that when I hang it, I hit a stud in my wall.
That's true. Now, I know you had a great weekend, but, me and Scott were in Missouri/Kansas City having our own fun. So, Scott, tell me a little bit about, we did a Conquer the Gauntlet Pro Team Takeover, which we usually do in Conquer Fitness in Tulsa, Oklahoma. However, if anyone's not tracking, Conquer Fitness has closed its doors, so it is no longer open. So we had to move it to a different location. So we chose Kansas City because of KCOCR, and a couple of us are within driving distance of that. So we did a 2-day event, and Scott, why don't you take us through what happened Saturday with the CTG Pro Team Takeover?
Okay, so yeah, we headed over to the ROKC, the new gym there. So yeah, we did a nice little program put together by Jenny there. We had was there like 6 stations we went through, just partner switching, things like sled push, bike, pull-ups, and all these other stations we were doing, and some running outside. Yeah, ran through those and really kind of kicked our butts on that, but it's a lot of stuff that we're not used to doing too often.
Yeah, the partner workout, a lot of it had to do like, one person would be in a static position, like a plank or a wall sit or dead hang, and the other person would have to do a required number of repetitions, and you kind of flip-flop back and forth. I know we were doing a lot of moves that I use, like the leg lift. We did like 100 leg lifts to end the thing, and I was just done. My legs were like, I couldn't even like lift my leg. It was like embarrassing. It was like embarrassing how badly I was doing at the end.
So yeah, that was a good workout there. But it was a fun time though. And it was a really nice gym there. So
yeah, the gym is insane. That wall, the climbing wall, is literally the largest wall climbing wall I've ever seen. Like both height wise and width. Like it went down the entire backside of the building, down the side, and then did like a hook into more. So I don't know how long it is, but it is, or how tall it is, but it is enormous. And the pictures online definitely don't do it justice. So if you're in the Kansas City area, Olathe, I would definitely check out ROKC Olathe. And then after the workout, where do we head to?
So yeah, then we got to go over to the shooting range, do some shooting there. Which yeah, that was definitely a good time. It's something I haven't done for quite a while, so I was like, wasn't sure what to expect. It's like Evan was bringing his arsenal, so yeah, see what we got to shoot.
What sort of guns were you shooting?
So I brought an AR-15, and my EOTech wasn't working, which I was really upset with, which is really frustrating. I still got to go figure out what's wrong with it. And then my other guns were basically all 45 caliber or 22. So I had a Para Ordnance 45, like a micro compact 1911, and then a P22 22 caliber pistol. And then what else did I have? Oh, a 22 survival rifle, right? So like the rifle actually disassembles and fits into the stock. So it looks like you're carrying just a stock. And then you take off the back plate and you basically assemble it. And it takes about, a minute to assemble. And then you can shoot 22 out of it. A little like, little plinker there. But one of the girls brought a revolver, Milena, and then I'm trying to blank on his name. Springfield XD 40, I think it was, and a couple of Glocks that he brought. So, yeah, it was fun. We just wanted to add something into the weekend. Again, completely optional. people could show up and do as much or as little as they want. They could go to the shooting range or skip the shooting range, whatever. Just wanted something to do to kill some time and, give people a reason to come out more than just, doing one workout and then heading out. And the shooting range was probably like 100 yards from the back of the climbing gym, right? It's indoor range, right, or like literally 100 yards. I think it would be a bit quicker to walk there than it would to drive because you have to
Yeah.
go around the block.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and say it was pretty funny that we actually ended up seeing Jacob Hepner there standing right next to us. It's like I walked in there, like the double take is like talking to Chris Balvin is like, is that Hepner? He's like, holy crap, it is. It's like
Fill our
just walk
audience
in
in. Fill our audience in if they don't know who that is.
So I think he's considered like probably a top 5 CrossFit athlete in the world. So actually heard the range monitor there talking to those guys. I guess they were there for like a wedding party or whatever. He was asking them, so it's like, so you guys do you guys a CrossFit group or something? It's like, yeah. He does a little bit of that, I think. It's like, so that was pretty funny.
Yeah, because they were all CrossFit-y, and then we're all wearing like OCR stuff, and we're still in like our workout clothes, pretty much everyone. So it was, I guess they assumed we were part of the same group, but not so much. That was pretty funny. I know he's I think local or from Kansas City, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I guess he's from that area.
So then on Sunday, we did the ninja competition. So ninja/OCR. So we went over to Motus Ninjas Gym, which is on the eastern side of Kansas City. And we set up kind of I wouldn't call it a complete ninja because there's nothing super technical in there. Kind of the hardest movement we had was 3 or 4 rings into a vertical rope, into a atomic climbing bomb, into another vertical rope. It was a lot of short stuff. So like if your grip failed, you could essentially reset and the moves weren't very far. It wasn't like any like super long rigs, and had them run through a competition. If you want to see what that looked like, the videos are up on the CTG Pro Team Facebook page. We had a tight battle for first and second, and then we had a tight battle for third and fourth. So the guy that won, Calvin, from Apex Climbing Gym, and he's light. I think he's like on like 99 pounds, like 100 pounds, right around that. And I knew he was coming, and I knew he'd make it. I knew he'd be doing really well. So I was like, well, yeah, I got to even the playing field a little bit. So I brought my 70-pound rec bag and put a 70-pound rec bag carry in there, which actually helped him because there was another ninja that came who just does a guy named Alex Rapp who just doesn't do cardio like pretty much ever, from my understanding, or doesn't like cardio. I'm not sure which it is. Maybe probably a combination of both. I think Alex actually moved through the obstacles faster, but lost time on the rec bag carry because Calvin is hybrid. He does OCR and ninja. He's stronger on the ninja side.
Yeah, I think he did surprisingly well on the rec bag. He actually moved through that pretty quick. So
yeah, I didn't think he'd. So for the men, we left it on the floor, so they had to essentially clean it to get it up. And for the women, it was like preloaded on a shelf, where they could just kind of slip it onto their back. And I was surprised at how quickly he got it up off the ground because like I've definitely almost like pulled a muscle lifting it up off the ground towards the end of a workout.
What did you just have a run with the rec bag, or did it go through some balance or something?
That was just a run. It's kind of like I don't know, 50-meter run.
Gotcha.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But super nice. I think we're gonna look to do another one of those in probably February, March next year, maybe, or maybe late this year, kind of after the CTG or after the OCR season is over. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And the turnout was light on Sunday. So we, a lot of the people, especially on the female side, right? Like if you show up and put out a halfway effort, you'll be walking away with some prizes. We ended up charging about $15 for people to run the course, and they got, I think everyone got their money back in prizes. And plus we had free samples. Definitely. We had Juice Performer there, the cherry and beet juice. We had Ambari samples from Ambari Nutrition. I had a bunch of Hammer Nutrition samples consisting of gels, the electrolyte fizz tablets, and then the prizes were brought to the athletes by Rock Tape and Squirrel's Nut Butter. So essentially we had a big box of stuff from Rock Tape's website that includes Trigger Point massage balls and Trigger Point foam rollers and stuff like that. and the athletes that came in first, second, and third, because then she just picked what they wanted from the box. So first got three picks, 3 items. Second got 2, and third got 1. So, definitely come out if you're in the KC area or want to come out to KC or drive kind of within a relatively close distance. We had a great time all weekend, which is why we planned it for 2 days and did more than just like a single competition. So you're not driving out just to do one thing. You can hang out all weekend. And, next time we'll probably have a after party type thing at my place and people can just chill out in the off season. So should be fun. Yeah. All right. We're going to start wrapping things up. Before we go follow, got a couple final things to do. One, OCR America 2 fundraiser officially ended. We raised over $7,600 for Folds of Honor, which was awesome. And
Awesome.
yeah, that's the most I've raised for any of the fundraisers so far by little over $1,000. So between all the stupid ultra-OCR fundraisers I've done, we're at over $20,000 for Folds of Honor, which is pretty awesome. That was the milestone I was shooting for at the beginning of this year, to break this year. So we needed 7,500 to do it. And we did that. So quick shout out to all the people that donated. I'm going to read the names real quick, and then we will do some fun facts we don't know about each other before we go. So we got a big thanks to all the donors, both people who signed up for the event and then the people who donated online via the Facebook fundraiser. I'm going to read just the names for the Facebook fundraiser, but all your donations all went to Folds of Honor. So, Tim Stamper, Rodney Brown, Brenda Pieri, Brian Fisher, Linda Ross, Jenny Overstreet, Laura Cox-Ritter, Mark S. Trimmer, Kelly Williams, John Casamata, CJ Emmons, Jeremy Zakula, Michelle Hartman, Liz Dritzis, my boy Sty Corellis, Scott Wierzycki, Philip Andrew, Ian Pierre. I need to pronounce his name better. Ian Perrier. I can't pronounce it. Ian, I'm talking about you. Jake Deal, Julie Estes, Matt Hansen, Michael Booms, Daniel Leonard, Christina Danielle, one of my former soldiers there, Barbara Stone, Jason Williams, Ashley Samples, James McVeigh, Hank Stefano, Caitlin Ritter, Randy Lackey, Anna Landry, Elisa Surtek, William Shell, Imogene Cross there. We got Highlander Chris, Rick Morando, Linda Leonard, Cynthia Barber, AC Hale, Karen Weller, Lee Stowell, Ben McCall, Andrew Woodward, Brenna Calvert, Hillary Green, Belinda Phillips, Sean Crosswhite, Aaron Showman, Melena Peel, Kevin Milley, and then we got a bunch of repeat donors: Matthew Knight, Kim DeVos, Austin McCulkin, Nathan Palmer, Ben Marr, Tony Wade, Dustin Radney, Trisha Rogers, Chris Miller. Let's see what else we got: Andrew Saunders, Anthony Zanitti, Adam Bennett, Caleb Maddox, Gabe Lopez, Daniel Leonard, Robert Livingston, Heather Camerata, Will Hicks, Linda Fisher, Devin Fisher, Brian Fisher a whole bunch more times, Jamie Gillen, Matt Hansen again, Trina Fox. What else we got here? Laura Royster, Brittany Martinez, Kerry Adams, Sean Booms. I think all these other, Tabby Wood. I think all these other are doubles that donated. So if you donated, thank you. Oh, John Peter Paul, Kenny West, Jennifer Clement, Keith Allen, Miranda Huber, Colton Powers. There's a lot of names. Yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown. And if I didn't mention your name and you came to the event, thank you. And make sure you check out the Stoke Shed videos because they came out amazing. And then on top of that, if you didn't listen to the OCR America coverage of this podcast, go back and listen to it. Mike Stefano, the host from Obstacle Running Adventures, did a really good job. I think it's the best piece produced of OCR podcast content that's available. So it kind of cuts back and forth between interviews he did and me talking about the day. They came out really, really good. And it has nothing to do with me. It's all Mike Stefano's work. So now please check those out because it's him doing all the editing, interviews, and questioning and all that stuff. And I was just sitting there running my mouth, and he did all the hard work. So please check that out for him. And then you can head over to Obstacle Running Adventures and check out his podcast. All right, before we take off, we should tell us one thing people would be surprised to know about you. So we'll start off with Scott. What do you got for me, Scott? Something surprised me.
I don't have anything too surprising, but So I guess I think of is, of course, now I do a lot of running, but back in earlier days, basically from like 5 until I was 33, about all I was focused on was pretty much it's all about baseball. So I played a lot in like JUCO ball and other amateur leagues up
Oh,
until
really?
then. So yeah, and then of course, like in high school, I did do some track, but basically back then, like 1 mile was like that was endurance training for me back then. So it's a little bit. I've expanded a little bit on that now.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll lose some fans for this, but I think baseball is one of the most boring things there is. I've heard if you cut out all the standing around in baseball, but basically do it from when the ball leaves the pitcher's hand to hits the catcher's glove, or when the ball is basically out of play. I've heard you can watch a game in under 10 minutes. Like there's actually 10 minutes of action, but it's stretched, between like people moving around and, the pitcher warming up his hands and whatever he's doing, like it takes whatever 3 hours to watch a game, but it's actually 10 minutes of action. So
I could believe
that's
that.
probably about accurate.
I also believe baseball is the only sport where the people watching the game have a higher heart rate than the athletes on the field. Right? Because that they're in good shape, those athletes, right? The guy in the outfield, his heart rate's probably like 60 and he's standing around. And meanwhile, the guy eating hot dogs and chugging beer is probably at like 120. All right. But I've been to a couple of games and I've enjoyed them when it's a close game. A lot of time,
Yeah,
if it's not close, it's
about bringing in the whole experience.
yeah. All right, Doug, what do you got for me?
Something not so athletic related. I have a sewing machine and I do my own sewing. So like I sew patches on clothes and bags and stuff. I've made curtains and fixed clothes and stuff like that. I guess that's my one secret fact for the day.
All right. Well, I don't really hate. I'm trying to think of something good related to that. The only sewing I've really done was probably in like home and careers, like a mandatory class I took in not college, in high school. And then when I went to selection, they make you sew, and I think Ranger School, they make you sew on your roster number onto your uniform, which like literally, it's like the saddest thing ever. It takes people all day. You have all these military guys who have like never used a needle and thread, and they're just fumbling their way through it. And it was shoddy craftsmanship, but it got me through the 3-week long process there, or 2-month long process. So those are my sewing stories. All right, and then other than that, we'll do final shout outs. So Scott, who do you have? Friends, family, sponsors?
Shout out to just the whole CTG family and sponsors of the CTG Pro Team, to Hammer Nutrition, back with them for year 3, and Neptune Heat. I'll be using my Neptune next week at the Domino Snow Race, along with my my Blug mitts and my dry robe for after. So
nice. You just got that dry robe like 24 hours ago. There.
yes,
Perfect timing.
It's quite nice.
Yeah. And for those of you going to Abominable Snow Race, if you listen to this before you go, I will be there. So if you want a set of Blug mitts, both lights or extremes, I have them in stock. Just shoot me a message and you can basically pay me ahead of time, and I'll tell you how to basically zero out shipping, because I'm just going to hand it to you in person. And we are starting to run a little low on lights. So if you're interested in those, order those sooner rather than later. The extremes, we just got resupplied at the end of February. So we got a pretty good amount of those. But those tend to go fast, especially as the season progresses and people start getting worried about Tahoe and the Spartan Championship Series and Ultra Beast and, the one toughest mudder and world's toughest we got going on this year. All right, Doug, what do you shout outs, family, friends, sponsors, etc.?
Sure. I think related to Battle Race, OCR Talk did a live coverage of the whole thing it's Jason Dupree, who's down here in Louisiana, I believe, and that's part of OCR Report. But if you look at OCR Talk on YouTube, you can find the like 2.5 hours of live coverage from that race, and it's very fascinating to watch every obstacle being done and some commentary, talks to some people, interviews some people. And also the photographer that was there, it's Richard Photography. He does some really creative athletic type photography. He's known better for his gym photography and stuff like that. So that's yet another idea if you're looking for a photographer.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. On the same line, I'm going to give a shout out to Stoke Shed Productions. So again,
Yep.
they were the ones who covered OCR America 2. And if you look at all the highlight videos that are on the CTG page, they're the ones who shot and edited those. And one of the big announcements last week, which it was earlier than I was expecting it, was Bobby Ross and Victoria Ross, who own and run Stoke Shed there. So they're going to turn the OCR America 2 footage and then add a lot before and after, and essentially make a documentary called Ultra-OCR Man. So kind of loosely based on my book. It's almost like a sequel, but not really. You don't need to watch or read one to understand the other. But they're going to be doing a OCR documentary covering some kind of briefly touching on some of my military stuff, and then a lot of them like life/mindset. So Bobby was with me all weekend, just shooting a ton of footage. I mean, we literally shot for all day, Friday afternoon, and then like all day Saturday, we were shooting video. So the funny part about this, he needs video of you working out. So we're going through like all the exercises I do, and I can't just do it once because he needs like multiple angles. So like I spent all of Friday and Saturday just working out like all day. So I'm super sore today. Shout out to Apex Climbing Gym because we showed up and they let us use their gym unannounced and had no problem with us recording. We actually recorded one of the interviews in the gym with like Apex in the background, like all the logos and stuff. And then we shot at my local gym where I usually do like regular weight training. I'm not going to give them a shout out because we asked to shoot there. They said, okay. The lady at the front desk said, okay. And then the healthy living director came up after an hour and a half and loudly kicked us out of the gym.
Wow.
She was like, you need to leave. And I was like, all right. So, we didn't make a big deal out of it. We already got a ton of footage. We were actually discussing leaving in the next probably 10 or 15 minutes. But yeah, it was pretty funny. And then the other thing we did, which my other shout out goes to Advanced Healthcare and Sports Injury, Dr. Kirk Iodice, who I had on the podcast, I don't know, probably about 10 episodes ago. He's a chiropractor who does active release therapy and, taping and Graston method IASTM, all that good stuff to keep your muscles fresh and healthy and, prevent injury and to help you recover from injury. We went there and we shot a bunch of video at his place, and that was awesome. So that he was doing some dry needling, and they got like close-ups of these big old needles like plunging into like my knee and my back, and got some good twitches out of there. So I think people will really find that fascinating. And they were doing some e-stim, so they put the needle in and then they run an electrical current through it to kind of help loosen up the muscle there. So great videos there. I can't wait we edit some of those, and I think we're going to put some of them up ahead of time, but they'll be in the documentary once it's getting ready to release. And we're hoping to get the documentary out in late 2020. So still got a lot of stuff to shoot, a lot of stuff to edit it, and then kind of work through the marketing and actual production and get it picked up by a streaming platform, hopefully. So watch for that. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that breaks some ground in the sport, and I'd really love to see similar stuff from other people in the future. We've had some minor OCR. We've had some OCR related documentaries in the past. Like I don't know if has anyone seen My Addiction? My Addiction with Jesse Bruce, I think it's called.
No.
No, I have not seen that.
Oh, it's a good one. So that one's free on YouTube, so I highly recommend going and watch that.
Okay.
It's about Jesse Bruce's background and addiction, basically being a, growing up troubled and getting in and out of juvie and stuff like that. So that's really good. But the focus on that is his addiction, to drugs and alcohol and his rise from that into OCR. and as a business owner of one academy up in Toronto. But it's not like OCR focused versus like the documentary Stoke Shed's making is going to be OCR focused. And then if you've seen, do you see The Painted Warrior on, I believe it's on Amazon Prime? Either of you?
No, I know who he is and I know the story, but I haven't seen that production.
Yeah, it's basically the same for me. I know who he is, but have not watched that one yet.
So another OCR documentary, Painted Warrior. It's on Amazon Prime. Well, I wouldn't call it OCR. It's more like an art movie / ultra running movie. The Painted Warrior does do OCR. So there are some OCR clips in there, but it was mostly ultra running and mostly art in the film. And then the final documentary that's out is Rise of the Sufferfests. And
that one I've definitely seen.
Okay.
I've seen that one like 6 times.
Okay.
Yeah. Used to be on all the planes. He'd be on there. So.
Yeah. So those are kind of the 3 I know about, or the 3 ones that are semi-popular. So, and other than that, it's just been, podcast content and article content. I'm really hoping that with like a documentary like this, and hopefully in the future, some of that content is a little longer lasting, right? Because podcasts people listen to, and then it just gets pushed to the back of the queue, right? They just, after a couple months, you get onesies and twosies going back and listening to old episodes, but it's not, you're not getting massive hits on old episodes. And same thing with articles versus, documentaries. And I think books are kind of a little more long lasting. So hoping that sticks around. Speaking of books, Ultra OCR Man out on digital, hard copy, and audiobook now. And then finally, referring to Dr. Kirk Iodice, we're going to do a Q&A episode. So I am going to, if anyone has any questions for injury prevention, injury recovery, modality, stuff like that, we are going to, I'm going to post it in KCOCR first and also on the Strength and Speed page. You can ask those questions, and then we're going to answer a couple of them on air in an interview at the end of this month. All right, that's it. I'm tired of talking, and I'm sure you're tired of listening to me. Scott, thanks for coming on, and Doug, thanks for coming on.
Yep,
My
thanks
pleasure.
for having me.
Where's the next race we'll see you at, Doug?
Let's see. 2 weeks, I'll be at Bone Frog, Atlanta, doing the Tier 1.
Nice. And I know Scott's going to be at Abominable Snow Race. What do you have after Abominable?
Yep, after that, I think it might be back to Dallas for CTG. So excited to get that going.
I'll be at Abominable this weekend, and then next one after that will be, I believe, Casey Timber Challenge, which is not an actual race. That's not a competitive one. But for those of you who are going to do Extreme Timber Challenge in September, which is now an OCRWC qualifier, it might be good practice to go up there and run through the course when it's not for race time, because that low rig is brutal, especially if you've never done it before. It gets awkward real quick. And last year at XDC, it was like drizzling that morning, and you're like trying to get across that low rig there's like a horizontal PVC pipe. I mean, my grip was getting maxed out, just kind of hanging onto that pipe and not moving. So yeah, might be a good race to come practice up at. I know I plan on going there, and Stoke Shed plans on covering the event also. So good opportunity to see them, hang out with them. And so that one's April 19th. It's the week after Catholic Easter. It's actually on Orthodox Easter. So, all right, we're going to take off. I will catch all you guys later. Thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.